I should have known something was off the moment Olivia placed the documents on the granite countertop. Her tone was sweet, too sweet. The kind of tone she used when she wanted to soften the blow before asking for something I wouldn't like. "It's just for tax purposes," she said, sliding the papers toward me like they weren't the single most unsettling thing I'd seen in our marriage. Tax purposes. Right. I glanced down at the paperwork, my fingers hovering just above the stack. The official letterhead stared back at me, sharp and unforgiving against the white pages. A property transfer. She wanted me to sign the house over to her. My house. The home I bought before we were even married. The home I had spent years saving for, working overtime, sacrificing vacations, and grinding through long weeks to afford. "You're always talking about being smart with our finances," Olivia continued, leaning in, her voice syrupy with patience she wasn't really feeling. "This is the best move for our family." Our family. That's how she framed it. Like she was asking me to do this for the kids, for our future. But something in her tone, something beneath the words, made my skin prickle. I looked up at her. She was good, too good. Olivia was a doctor, and she knew how to present a convincing argument. She had spent years delivering bad news in a way that softened the blow, a skill that was now being used against me. She reached for my hand, her fingers brushing against mine, but the touch wasn't the same. It felt calculated, like she was testing my reaction. Maybe she sensed my hesitation. Maybe she knew me too well. Or maybe, just maybe, she was hiding something. I swallowed hard, forcing my face to remain neutral as I picked up the papers, flipping through them casually. I didn't want her to see my nerves, didn't want her to sense the alarm bells ringing in my head. "Why now?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. Olivia tilted her head slightly, the way she did when she was about to talk down to me. "Nathan, you know it makes sense. We're married. What difference does it make whose name is on the deed?" I nearly laughed. What difference does it make? It made all the difference in the world. Instead of answering, I let the silence stretch between us. I knew how to handle negotiations. I did it every day at work. And sometimes, silence was the best tactic. It made the other person uncomfortable, made them fill the void with explanations. Sure enough, Olivia exhaled, feigning exasperation. "Look, between your job and mine, we barely have time to deal with financial logistics. This would simplify things. Plus, if something ever happened to you, I'd already have legal control of the property. It's just a formality." A formality. The word echoed in my head, bouncing around like a warning siren. She wanted me to believe this was normal, routine. But I had learned a long time ago that when something didn't sit right, it was for a reason. I shifted my weight, glancing toward the baby monitor sitting on the counter. A soft green light pulsed, a steady reminder that our 2-year-old twins, Liam and Ava, were upstairs asleep, completely unaware that their mother was trying to talk their father into giving up the house he had built for them. My house. No. I set the papers down. Slowly. Deliberately. "I don't know, Olivia," I said, watching her face carefully. "This house, it's my security. I bought it before we were married." For the briefest second, something flickered in her expression. Frustration? Annoyance? Whatever it was, she wiped it away quickly, replacing it with concern. "This isn't about control," she said, her voice softening again. "It's about trust. If you really cared about our marriage, you'd understand why this makes sense." And there it was. The guilt trip. I clenched my jaw. I wanted to call her out, wanted to demand to know why she was really doing this. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I nodded, feigning consideration. "I'll think about it." She studied me, searching for something in my expression. "Okay," she said finally, smiling, but it didn't reach her eyes. As I watched her pick up her wine glass and take a slow sip, I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't signing those papers. And whatever Olivia was up to, I was going to find out. I wanted to believe Olivia. I wanted to think this was just a misunderstanding, that maybe I was overreacting. But in marriage, you learn to pick up on the small things, the shifts in tone, the subtle changes in routine, the tiny details that don't quite add up. And lately, nothing about Olivia added up. It started with the late nights. She had always worked long hours at the hospital, but now, there was something different about it. She stopped texting to say when she'd be home. Some nights, I'd wake up at 2 a.m. and she still wouldn't be in bed. When I asked, she'd wave it off with a tired smile. Emergency surgery, she'd say. Crazy shift. But I'd never known her to be this unavailable, this detached. Then there was her phone. Olivia had always been private, but now she treated her phone like a classified document. She never left it on the counter anymore. If I walked into the room while she was texting, she'd tilt the screen away. And one night, when she thought I was asleep, I saw her get out of bed, take her phone into the bathroom, and close the door. Something was wrong. I wasn't sure what, but I felt it in my gut. Then came the gym. Olivia had never cared about working out much before. She was naturally fit, always said she didn't have the energy after a 12-hour shift. But suddenly, she was going to the gym 4, sometimes 5 times a week. She bought expensive new workout gear, matching sets, fitted leggings, sneakers that cost more than my entire wardrobe. When I asked about it, she laughed. "I need to take care of myself, Nathan. You should try it sometime." It was a joke, but something about it felt off. I started noticing other changes too. The way she suddenly had a fresh manicure every week, when she used to never bother. The way she took extra time getting ready, even when she was just running errands. The way she would disappear on the weekends, claiming she needed a mental health day. And through all of this, she was growing colder toward me. She didn't kiss me goodbye anymore. She didn't check in during the day. She barely looked up from her phone when I spoke. And when we did talk, it was surface level. No depth, no warmth. Just small talk, like we were two strangers living in the same house. One night, after the twins were asleep, I tried to bridge the distance. I poured us both a glass of wine and sat beside her on the couch. "You've been different lately," I said carefully. She sighed, rolling her eyes. "I'm exhausted, Nathan. Work has been insane." "I know," I said, "but this feels like more than that. You barely talk to me anymore." She exhaled, setting her wine glass down. "Nathan, not everything is about you." The words hit like a slap. I stared at her, waiting for her to soften, to take it back. But she didn't. Instead, she stood up, stretched, and grabbed her phone. "I'm going to bed," she muttered. I sat there, staring at the empty space she left behind, my heart hammering against my ribs. That was the moment I knew. I wasn't imagining this. Something was happening, and I needed to find out what. I told myself I wasn't going to snoop, that I wasn't that kind of husband, that I trusted Olivia. But trust isn't blind. Trust isn't signing over your house when every instinct in your body tells you something is wrong. And my instincts were screaming. It started small. One morning, after Olivia rushed out the door for an early shift, I picked up her coffee mug and noticed something strange. She hadn't touched it. Olivia was addicted to caffeine. There was no way she left for a grueling hospital shift without her morning fix. So where had she really gone? I decided to start paying closer attention. That night, I checked our bank statements. Normally, Olivia barely spent money on herself. She was always practical. But lately, there were frequent charges at high-end restaurants, boutique stores, even a luxury spa. I frowned. Olivia had told me she was too exhausted for date nights, yet she had time for fine dining? Then, the phone records. I knew Olivia's work schedule well enough to notice patterns. But there was one number that kept appearing, over and over. Late at night, during her supposed mental health days, even on her lunch breaks. I did a quick reverse lookup. Daniel Hughes. I stared at the name, my stomach twisting into knots. It didn't mean anything yet. It could be a colleague, a consultant, hell, even a patient. But something inside me told me it wasn't. I opened Olivia's social media. She didn't post much, but I started looking at her tag locations. She'd checked in at places she never mentioned, restaurants we had never been to, a new wine bar across town, a gym she never told me she joined. And then, I found him. Daniel Hughes was a physical therapist at her hospital. Mid-30s, clean-cut, the kind of guy who probably made every patient swoon. His social media was filled with motivational quotes, gym selfies, and a restaurant photo. I clicked on it, my hands trembling. The location matched one of Olivia's charges. The date was from 2 weeks ago. And the caption? Great night with an even greater person. No tag, no name, but in the reflection of the glass behind him, I saw the faint outline of a woman sitting across from him, a woman with dark curls, a woman who looked exactly like my wife. The room spun. I closed my laptop and sat in silence, my mind racing. I wanted to believe there was a reasonable explanation, that I was overthinking, that Olivia had been honest with me. But deep down, I already knew. I just needed proof. The next morning, I called my friend Jared. "I need your help," I said, my voice tight. Jared was a real estate lawyer, but he knew his way around marital property disputes. I explained Olivia's push to transfer the house, the strange behavior, the late nights. There was a long pause on the other end. "Nathan," Jared said carefully, "I don't want to alarm you, but I've seen this before. Wives don't push for property transfers unless they're planning something big, either a divorce or a way to cut you out completely." My stomach dropped. "Tell me exactly what she asked you to sign," Jared said. I described the documents, and Jared cursed under his breath. "If you sign those papers, Nathan, you lose everything. Your house, your financial leverage. If she files for divorce afterward, she'll have full control, and you'll be left with nothing." A slow, sick realization settled over me. Olivia hadn't been distant because of stress. She hadn't been cold because of work. She was planning her exit, and she wanted to take everything with her. "Nathan, listen to me," Jared said firmly. "Whatever you do, don't sign anything, and start gathering evidence. If she's cheating, if she's lying, get proof. Because if she makes the first move, you need to be ready to fight back." I exhaled, gripping my phone so hard my knuckles turned white. For years, I had trusted Olivia with everything. My love, my children, my home. And now, I had no choice but to protect what was mine, even if that meant protecting it from my own wife. I wasn't the kind of man who snooped. I never believed in checking my wife's phone, never scrolled through her emails when she left them open, never followed her when she left the house. But trust wasn't a shield. It wasn't a reason to ignore the obvious. Olivia was planning something, and if I didn't move fast, I'd be the one left picking up the pieces. Jared had given me my marching orders. Don't sign anything. Gather evidence. Protect yourself. So that's what I did. The first thing I did was secure my finances. Olivia thought she was the only one making secret moves? Fine. Two could play that game. I opened a separate bank account, one she didn't know about, and started transferring small amounts of money from our joint account. Not enough to raise suspicion, but enough that if she drained the accounts overnight, I wouldn't be left with nothing. Then, I checked the house deed. I needed to be sure. Despite Olivia's pushing, the house was still in my name. She couldn't take it. Not yet. But I knew she was waiting for my signature. And once she had it, I'd be nothing more than a guest in my own home. That wasn't going to happen. Then, I set up the recording device. I felt sick doing it, but I needed proof. Proof that Olivia wasn't just being distant. Proof that this wasn't some paranoid delusion. I bought a discreet, high-quality recorder from an electronics shop across town. One that activated with sound and could record for hours without being detected. The old man behind the counter barely blinked when I told him what I needed. "Protect yourself," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "The best evidence is in their own words." That night, after Olivia left for another late shift that I no longer believed in, I placed the device in the kitchen. I knew she made her phone calls there. Knew she thought I wasn't paying attention. Then I waited. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about all the little moments I had ignored. The subtle shifts, the excuses, the way she had slowly turned me into a stranger in my own marriage. Had this been her plan all along? Had she ever truly loved me? Or had I just been a placeholder until something better came along? Morning came too soon. I woke up before Olivia, retrieved the device, and locked myself in the home office. My heart pounded as I played the recording. At first, it was just the usual sounds. The twins stirring upstairs. Olivia sighing as she poured herself a glass of wine. Then, her voice. And someone else's. I froze, gripping the desk as a man's voice came through the speaker. "Daniel." "I'm working on it," Olivia said, her voice low. "He's hesitating, but I'll get him to sign. He trusts me too much." My breath caught in my throat. "And once he does?" Daniel asked. Then it's ours, Olivia said smoothly. The house, the accounts, everything. He won't see it coming. I clenched my fists. There it was. She wasn't just leaving me. She was taking everything. My house, my savings, my life. And she thought I was too stupid to stop her. I played the rest of the recording, my pulse hammering. She laughed with him, joked about how easy it had been. He's so busy playing the perfect husband, she had said. He doesn't even realize I checked out months ago. I gritted my teeth. I had realized. I just hadn't wanted to believe it. But belief didn't matter anymore. The only thing that mattered now was what I did next. I wasn't going to confront her yet. No, that would be too easy. I needed to be smart. I needed to be careful. I needed to make sure that when the moment came, I had everything I needed to destroy whatever plan she had in place. Because if Olivia wanted a war, she was about to get one. I sat at the kitchen counter, staring at the recording device in my hand. The proof I needed was right there, her voice crisp and clear, dripping with the kind of confidence that only comes from believing you'll never get caught. He trusts me too much. I had trusted her. And now, I was about to make sure she regretted every single lie. That evening, I did something I hadn't done in months. I left work early. Normally, I'd be the one scrambling to get home, rushing to help with the twins' bedtime routine while Olivia breezed in whenever she pleased. But not tonight. Tonight, I was waiting for her. The twins were already asleep when she walked in, her gym bag slung over her shoulder, a slight sheen of sweat on her forehead. She smelled like perfume. Not sweat, not hospital antiseptic, perfume. She hadn't been at the gym. She stopped short when she saw me at the kitchen island, the house transfer documents sitting neatly in front of me. For the first time in weeks, I saw a flicker of something in her eyes, hesitation. Nathan, she said, forcing a smile. You're home early. I thought we should talk. I gestured toward the documents. About the house transfer. Her smile widened. Hook, line, and sinker. She walked over, slipping into the seat across from me. I knew you'd come around, she said smoothly, tucking a loose curl behind her ear. This is the best move for us, Nathan. For our family. That word again. Family. The same family she was planning to walk away from. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the counter. You really think I'd sign over my house just because you asked nicely? A tiny crack appeared in her expression, but she recovered fast. Nathan, we've been over this. It makes financial sense. Does Daniel agree? I interrupted. Silence. For a fraction of a second, I saw the mask slip. A tiny widening of her eyes. A sharp inhale. Then, just like that, she schooled her features into something neutral. Who? She asked, feigning confusion. I pulled out my phone and pressed play. Her voice filled the kitchen, smooth and confident. He's hesitating, but I'll get him to sign. He trusts me too much. The color drained from her face. I let the recording play a little longer, just enough for her to hear Daniel's voice, just enough to make sure she knew exactly how badly she had screwed up. Then, I pressed pause. You want to try that again? I asked, my voice calm. She swallowed hard. Nathan, I don't, I said sharply. Don't insult me with another lie. She exhaled, rubbing a hand over her face. For a brief moment, I saw something flicker across her features. Not remorse, not guilt. Annoyance. Like she was inconvenienced by getting caught. I felt something cold settle inside me. She had never intended to tell me the truth. If I hadn't found out, she would have gone through with it. She would have stripped me of everything, left me with nothing but a piece of paper and a lifetime of regrets. And for what? Some fling with a younger man? I sat back, arms crossed. Tell me, Olivia, when exactly did you decide that screwing over your husband was your best option? She sighed. It's not like that. It's exactly like that, I shot back. She leaned forward, her voice lowering. Nathan, listen to me. Things between us haven't been the same. You're always at work, always preoccupied. I needed something for myself. I laughed. Actually laughed. Right. And instead of, I don't know, talking to me, you decided to steal my house and start a new life with Daniel? Her jaw clenched. I wasn't stealing anything. You were taking it, I corrected. You were planning to leave me and take everything on your way out. That's the definition of stealing, Olivia. She stood up abruptly, pushing her chair back. You don't understand, Nathan. You've never understood. Oh, I understand perfectly. I stood too, meeting her glare head on. You got bored. You wanted out. And instead of being honest, you decided to trap me into signing away my house so I wouldn't have anything left when you walked out the door. She crossed her arms. What are you going to do about it? I smiled. I was just about to say the same thing to you. Her jaw clenched, and for a second, I saw it. The fury she had been holding back, the rage of someone who thought she had won but had just realized she was about to lose. I took my time, grabbing my phone and scrolling through my messages. Nathan, you can't just... I held up a finger, cutting her off, then tapped the screen. Jared, I said into the receiver, keeping my eyes locked on hers. File the papers. Olivia's face turned white. Wait, she said quickly, stepping forward. Nathan, we can talk about this. I took a step back, keeping my distance. Oh, now you want to talk? I said, voice thick with sarcasm. Funny, because you weren't really in the talking mood when you were planning to rob me blind. She exhaled sharply, running a hand through her hair. I was going to tell you. You were going to tell me after I signed the house over to you, I interrupted. And by then, it would have been too late. She swallowed, her throat bobbing. Nathan, please. Let's be rational about this. I am being rational, I said coldly, which is why I'm handling this legally. I turned back to the phone, listening as Jared confirmed the restraining order had been filed. Instead, she took a deep breath, smoothed her expression into something softer, and tried a different angle. Nathan, she said, her voice gentler now, like she was speaking to a patient. You don't have to do this. I know you're upset. I know this looks bad, but we can work through this. I scoffed. Oh, now we're a team? She stepped forward. Nathan, I still love you. I tilted my head, studying her. Is that what you told Daniel too? Her mouth snapped shut. The truth was, she didn't love me. At least, not in the way that mattered. She loved the life I provided. She loved the security, the stability, the beautiful home that she was trying to rip out from under me. And now that she realized she wasn't going to get it, she was desperate. You need to leave, I said flatly. Her eyes widened. Excuse me? I gestured toward the door. Pack a bag. Get a hotel. Go to Daniel, if you want. But you're not staying here. Nathan, I live here too. Not anymore, I said smoothly. That restraining order? It means you have exactly 1 hour before I call the police. She gasped. You wouldn't. I pulled up my call log, hovered my thumb over 911. Try me. For the first time, real fear flickered across her face. She wasn't in control anymore. I was. Her breathing hitched, her lips parting in disbelief, and for the briefest moment, I saw something behind her eyes, regret. Not regret for what she had done. Not regret for betraying our marriage. Regret for getting caught. She turned on her heel and stormed toward the stairs, muttering curses under her breath. I stood in the kitchen, listening to her move around upstairs, throwing things into a bag. She was leaving. I had one. But somehow, I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. I glanced at the baby monitor, watching Liam and Ava sleep peacefully in their cribs. They didn't know what was happening. They didn't know that by tomorrow morning, their mother wouldn't be here. I clenched my fists. They didn't deserve this. But Olivia had made her choice. And I had made mine. 15 minutes later, she came back down, a duffel bag slung over her shoulder. Her face was blank, her movements stiff. She didn't look at me as she walked past. She didn't say goodbye. She just grabbed her car keys and walked out the front door, slamming it behind her. The sound echoed through the house. I exhaled slowly, bracing my hands against the counter. It was done. She was gone. I had protected my home, my kids, my future. But something in my gut told me this wasn't over. I should have known Olivia wouldn't go quietly. The house was mine. My name was still on the deed. The legal barriers I'd put in place ensured she had no direct claim to it. But Olivia was a fighter. She wasn't going to accept losing without trying to burn everything down with her. It started with the lawyer's letter. Barely 48 hours after I'd thrown her out, an envelope arrived at my office. I recognized the firm's name immediately, one of the most aggressive divorce attorneys in the city. The letter was short, but the message was clear. Olivia was demanding half of everything. Half of the savings. Half of the investments. Half of the house. I nearly laughed. She had already tried to con me into signing it away, and now she wanted to make it official through legal force? Fine. I dialed Jared. She's trying to take the house through the divorce, I told him, pacing my office. Jared sighed. I was waiting for this. Let me guess. She's claiming she contributed to its value over the years? Bingo, I muttered. She has no case, he assured me. It was a premarital asset, bought before the marriage. She didn't invest a dime in it. She might argue about shared expenses, but we have enough to counter that. I exhaled, gripping the back of my chair. She's not going to stop, is she? Jared chuckled darkly. Oh no, my friend. This is just the beginning. And he was right. Within a week, Olivia escalated. She filed a temporary motion demanding full use of the house, claiming that since she had primary caregiving duties for the twins, she needed the property for stability. I could barely contain my anger as Jared and I sat across from Olivia and her lawyer at the first court meeting. She looked composed, controlled, like a woman who had spent the past several years mastering the art of manipulation. Nathan has already taken drastic steps to remove Olivia from the marital home, her lawyer said, his voice dripping with fake concern. We believe this was done maliciously, as an attempt to gain an advantage in these proceedings. I scoffed. Maliciously? You mean like how Olivia tried to trick me into giving away the house before filing for divorce? Her lawyer didn't flinch, but Olivia's jaw tightened. Let's stay civil, the judge interjected. Mrs. Carter, do you have documented proof that you contributed to the mortgage or renovations? She hesitated. I leaned back in my chair, arms crossed. I already knew the answer. The only name on the mortgage was mine. The only records of payments came from my account. Olivia had enjoyed the house, lived in it, raised our children in it, but she had never legally owned it. And now that was going to bite her. Her lawyer shifted, uncomfortable. No, Your Honor, but then I see no reason why Mr. Carter should be forced to vacate his own property, the judge said firmly. Checkmate. Olivia's lawyer adjusted his tie, clearing his throat. However, my client is also requesting a substantial financial settlement to maintain her standard of living and continue providing care for their children. I gritted my teeth. Standard of living. The same woman who had been planning a new life with Daniel was now trying to squeeze me dry. Jared glanced at me, his expression calm but sharp. We have an issue with that request, Your Honor, he said smoothly. Namely, that Mrs. Carter has been engaging in an extramarital relationship and had been planning to leave the marriage prior to these proceedings. The room fell silent. Olivia stiffened. We have documentation, Jared continued, sliding a file across the table. Phone records, financial statements showing money withdrawn from joint accounts for personal use, and most notably, a recorded conversation where Mrs. Carter explicitly states her plan to deceive my client into signing over his home. The judge flipped through the documents, his expression unreadable. Olivia's lawyer swallowed hard. I could feel her seething next to him, but she didn't say a word. Mr. Carter, the judge finally said, looking at me, if these claims are proven, your wife's financial demands may not hold in court. That's fine by me, Your Honor, I said, keeping my voice level. I'm just here to protect my children and the home they grew up in. I didn't even have to look at Olivia to know she was fuming. She had lost the house battle. Now, she was losing the financial one too. But I wasn't stupid. She wasn't done. As we left the courtroom, Olivia caught up to me in the hallway, her face carefully composed but her eyes blazing. This isn't over, Nathan, she said through clenched teeth. I turned to her, meeting her gaze without flinching. I know, I said simply. That's why I came prepared. For the first time since this all started, I saw it. The tiniest flicker of uncertainty in her expression. She had always thought she was the smartest one in the room. She never thought I'd be the one outmaneuvering her. But now, she was realizing the truth. She wasn't playing a game she could win. She was fighting a war she had already lost. For someone who always prided herself on control, Olivia was unraveling fast. The house was gone. The financial settlement was slipping. And now, the weight of her own lies was closing in on her. But she wasn't going to go down quietly. Her next move came faster than I expected. One evening, just as I was getting the twins ready for bed, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered, already expecting trouble. Nathan Carter? A deep voice asked. Yes. This is Officer Martinez from Houston PD. We need you to come down to the station. My stomach tightened. What's this about? There's been a report filed against you. I exhaled sharply. Of course. I had expected Olivia to fight back, but I hadn't expected her to go this far. By the time I arrived at the station, Jared was already there, looking completely unfazed. She filed a domestic abuse report, he told me as we sat in the waiting area. Claims you emotionally manipulated her and financially restricted her access to marital assets. I scoffed. So now protecting my home is abuse? Jared shrugged. It's a last-ditch effort. She knows she's losing the divorce, so she's trying to create leverage. A detective called me in for questioning. They asked me everything. Had I ever hit Olivia? Ever threatened her? Ever controlled her finances? No, I said firmly. But I do have evidence that she was trying to steal my home, commit financial fraud, and was engaged in an extramarital affair. Jared slid the judge's ruling across the table, along with the restraining order I had already filed. The detective skimmed through it, then sighed. Looks like this is a civil dispute, not a criminal one, he said, rubbing his temples. We get cases like this all the time. One spouse trying to turn the system against the other. I clenched my jaw. I had known Olivia would retaliate, but seeing her weaponize the law against me like this, it made my blood boil. So what now? I asked. The detective waved a dismissive hand. We won't be pursuing charges. But, he looked at me seriously. Watch your back. Women like her don't just stop. He wasn't wrong. The next few weeks were a war zone. First, Olivia tried turning mutual friends against me. She painted herself as the victim, twisting the truth so well that some people actually believed her. She gave up everything for you, Nathan. One of her friends texted me. And this is how you repay her? I didn't respond, because I didn't need to. The truth was unraveling faster than she could cover it up. Word got out about Daniel, about how Olivia had been sneaking around with him for months, planning her new life before even ending the old one. And then, the final nail in her coffin. Jared's team did some digging into Olivia's finances. Turns out, she had been funneling money from our joint account into a hidden savings account. Money she had been planning to use for her fresh start with Daniel. Not only was this illegal, but it was exactly the kind of fraud the judge needed to see. The moment Jared presented this evidence in court, Olivia's entire case collapsed. Her lawyer tried to fight, scrambling to argue that she had been saving for her future and preparing for financial independence. The judge wasn't buying it. By the end of the hearing, Olivia was left with almost nothing. She lost her claim to the house. She lost her right to demand spousal support. She even lost credibility in her own child custody claims. Her once perfect world? Gone. And the best part? Daniel had left her too. I found out through mutual acquaintances that once Olivia lost the house, and more importantly, once she lost access to my money, Daniel ghosted her. Just like that. She had bet everything on her future with him, and he had left her with nothing. I should have felt bad. I should have felt some small twinge of guilt for the woman I once loved. But I didn't, because she did this to herself. A few nights later, I was sitting in the living room when my phone buzzed. A single message. Olivia, can we talk? I stared at it for a long moment. Then, I deleted it. She wasn't my problem anymore. She never would be again. The first morning after the divorce was finalized, I woke up and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. For so long, I had been tangled in Olivia's web, second-guessing every decision, walking on eggshells, waiting for the next argument, the next manipulation, the next betrayal. Now, all of that was gone. I stepped into the kitchen and made breakfast for the twins. No tension. No hidden agendas. Just me, Liam, and Ava. Where's Mama? Ava asked, her little hands gripping her sippy cup. I kneeled beside her, brushing a stray curl from her face. She's not living here anymore, sweetheart, but you'll still see her. Liam, always the quieter one, just nodded. He was 2, but kids understood more than we gave them credit for. And as much as Olivia had tried to break me, I wasn't going to let her break them. After dropping them off at daycare, I returned home and stood in the living room, staring at my house, the house Olivia had tried to take. She had imagined herself here, starting a new life with Daniel, thinking I'd be too stupid to stop her. But now, this house was mine, and it was time to make it feel like it again. Erasing Olivia, I started small. I took down the wedding photos. The picture frames that once held carefully staged smiles were replaced with photos of the twins, of family, of moments that mattered. Next, I went through the master bedroom. Everything that was Olivia's? Gone. The expensive silk robes she used to flaunt? Tossed in a donation box. The designer candles she insisted on buying but never actually used? Trashed. The perfume bottle that still smelled like betrayal? Poured down the drain. I deep cleaned every inch of that room, scrubbing away the memories she had left behind. Then, I moved to the kitchen, the same place she had tried to convince me to sign over my house. I repainted the walls, changed the curtains, bought new dishes, new mugs, new everything. By the time I was done, it didn't feel like Olivia had ever lived here. It felt like mine. Moving forward with Olivia gone, everything became easier. Work became my sanctuary instead of an escape. Without her subtle jabs about me not being ambitious enough, I actually thrived. 3 months after the divorce, I landed a promotion I hadn't even been aiming for. A major step up, higher pay, better hours. At home, I fell into a rhythm with the twins. No more awkward silences at the dinner table. No more forced small talk. Just real moments. Liam asking me to read him the same bedtime story 5 times in a row. Ava making a mess with Play-Doh but flashing me her innocent smile, knowing I couldn't be mad. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was building something better. One evening, Jared came over to check in. He had been more than my lawyer. He had been my lifeline through all of this. "You're looking better," he said, leaning against the kitchen island. "Less like a man who just got out of a war." I smirked, pouring us both a drink. "Feels like I won the war." He raised his glass. "You did." We sat on the back porch, the sun setting over the yard where the twins played. Jared chuckled. "So, you thought about dating again?" I rolled my eyes. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But the truth was, for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid of what came next, because Olivia hadn't destroyed me. She had freed me. And this was only the beginning. Victory didn't come all at once. It came in quiet moments, in the absence of tension, in the weight that lifted off my shoulders every morning when I woke up in a house that was truly mine. It came in the way Liam and Ava thrived in a home without whispers of resentment, without fake smiles and hidden betrayals. It came in the realization that I had survived the worst version of love and still had the strength to build a better life. But the biggest moment? That came months later. The letter had arrived in the mail one afternoon, tucked between bills and grocery store coupons. A plain white envelope, no return address. I didn't have to open it to know who it was from. Still, curiosity got the best of me. "Nathan, I don't know if you'll even read this, but I needed to say it. I'm sorry. For everything. I know you won't believe me, but I never meant to hurt you. I thought I was doing what was best for me, and in the process, I lost everything. Daniel is gone. My friends barely look at me. I'm struggling to rebuild, and the truth is, I miss you. I miss us. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I wanted you to know that I regret it all. Take care of Liam and Ava. Tell them I love them." Olivia, I stared at the words, waiting for them to mean something, waiting to feel anything. But all I felt was relief. Because for the first time since she walked out of my life, I truly understood. She had never loved me. Not in the way I had loved her. She had loved what I provided. Loved the security, the stability, the life I built for our family. And when she thought she had found something better, she had tossed me aside like I was replaceable. But the real kicker? She had played herself. She had thrown away a life most people would kill for. And for what? A fling with a younger man who left her the second she lost the perks that came with me. I folded the letter, tucked it back in the envelope, and placed it in the drawer. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Some bridges should stay burned. Watching her fall, words spread quickly. Olivia's fall from grace was spectacular. She lost her social circle. The same people who used to admire her distanced themselves. No one wanted to be associated with a woman who had tried to scam her own husband. Her career? Not what it used to be. She still had her job, but the hospital administration had heard about the divorce, about the financial fraud, and about how she had tried to manipulate the legal system. Turns out, hospitals don't like having ethically questionable doctors on staff. She didn't get fired, but she didn't get promoted either. No more special treatment. No more connections that opened doors. She had made herself expendable. The final blow months later, while running errands, I stopped at a coffee shop near my office. I was waiting in line when I spotted her. Olivia, sitting alone at a corner table, staring blankly at her phone. She looked different. The confident, composed woman I had once married? Gone. She looked tired, worn down, defeated. I could have walked over, could have offered some empty platitude, rubbed salt in the wound, made her feel as small as she had tried to make me feel. But I didn't, because I didn't need to. She had destroyed herself. And I had one. Moving forward that evening, as I sat on my porch, watching Liam and Ava chase fireflies in the front yard, I realized something. I had spent so long fighting to keep my life from falling apart. But now, I was building something better. I wasn't just a survivor of Olivia's betrayal. I was the man who walked away from the wreckage and built a stronger future. And that was the greatest victory of all.